Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here, and I wanted to sit down today and shoot a quick video. This will be fun. I'm going to actually look at Bitcoin for the first time today. I have not looked at Bitcoin. I went out of town yesterday morning for the 4th of July weekend. Went up and hung out at the lake, or a lake, with a good friend of mine on his boat and our family. So just got back a little bit ago and thought I would sit down and take a look at some charts. And usually I have a look at the chart before I do the video, so I have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. But I think it might be interesting for you all to see like what I do when I first sit down and look at charts. So let's jump into that. Before I do though, a couple things. Number one, make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you check the description for a link down there where you can join my Patreon for just $7 a month. Also, there's a link down there where you can join my Pancake Profits course, which is a course that I set up with a former student of mine who is now a full-time trader. In fact, he's doing better than I am trading. So that's always nice to see students kind of surpass the teacher, if you will. Also, before I jump into the video, let's go ahead and get this disclaimer stuff out of the way up front, which is I'm just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. Nothing in this video is financial advice. You should always go out there and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor who may or may not have your best interest at heart before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. All right, all that's out of the way. Let's talk about some charts. So I have NIO pulled up, which is the stock that I've been trading a lot lately, but let's look at Bitcoin. All right, so the first thing I do when I sit down, and normally I have all these charts pulled up. I usually have a 5-minute, 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour, 12 hour daily, 3-day, weekly, 12-day, and monthly chart pulled up. And I take a look at all of them. And the best thing that I could tell somebody is look at the big picture first, right? So I don't want to get too long-winded about prediction stuff. I don't want to do a lot of prediction stuff today. I just want to talk about like the big picture first. So when I look at the big picture, if you're really zooming out, somebody said to me the other day, hey, you wouldn't be so bearish if you looked at the yearly chart. First of all, I'm not that bearish, right? I learned my lesson about letting my bias guide me. Like, blind bias is a bad thing. So I'm not really, overly bearish, overly bullish. I'm just trading what the chart gives me from day to day, and I'm trying to follow the chart best I can from week to week, right? But if you do zoom all the way out to a yearly chart, guys, this chart is not bullish, just to be very blunt. This is a very bearish looking chart, but this candle is still open. It's got 6 months to go, so I don't really care about it. But let's say hypothetically that this market did end up being what I expect it to be, which is a bear market. It goes back down over the next 6 to 12 months, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say this year closed around 30K, right? Let's say that it closed down around this level right here, okay? Well, guess what? This candle would then end up being a giant inverted hammer candle, maybe some type of shooting star candle, which would be a very bearish candle, and actually the first really bearish candle on a yearly level ever, okay? Because this candle back here wasn't all that bearish. I mean, it could be depending on how you view it, but oftentimes in an uptrend, you're gonna get a pullback. It just looks like a pullback. This looks more like a topping candle, okay? So, not good. But anyway, I don't care about that so much for trading. Monthly is about the biggest I'm gonna go to on a trading chart. So here's my monthly chart. I obviously want to realize that, hey, we just had 3 red months in a row. It's very uncommon to get 4 red months in a row, even in a bear market. So for example, look back here in 2019, 1, 2, 3 red months, little pause, green month, and then further continuation down, right? Look back at the bear market in 2018, red, green, red, green, red, red, green, red, 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 and this is capitulation, right? So could we get something like this? Sure, absolutely we could. But do I expect it? No, not really, right? I think we will get some type of relief bounce. Look back at previous markets. Let's go back to, let's look at a BLZ chart just so you guys can see this if you haven't looked at this before, right? So go back to, this is the bear market of 2013, right? Red, green, red, 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 green, green, red, 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 green, right? You're not getting tons of red candles in a row normally on a monthly level, okay? So I think this will be a green candle. I think we're gonna get that relief bounce, and yes, I'm still looking for 45 to 49K, but again, I'm not really wanting to do a bunch of predictions. I'm just showing you how I sit down and look at this. So, okay, I know there's 3 red candles. I'm looking for the green, and yes, that was my elbow that just snapped. 12-day chart. Why did I look at a 12-day chart? Well, 12-day chart is something that I've never seen anybody else talk about. Long story short, it's a chart that I started using in the stock market. It's because I like 3-day charts in crypto, and the stock market moves 4 times slower, so I started using 12-day charts in stocks. every once in a while I'll look at a 12-day chart on crypto as well. It just became kind of like a habit, right? So same thing on this. Looking at this chart, just looks like it's coming back down in here to test these old levels. I think we'll get a bounce back up to this 45 to 49K. I look at a weekly chart, right? What am I looking at a weekly? I'm looking at the structure itself, but I'm also looking at some moving averages. So in this case, and yeah, I'm talking fast, guys, because I don't want the video to be too long, but I look at the 19-week moving average. It's the only moving average I care about on a weekly chart. 19, simple moving average, right? And I know that, as I've talked about in previous videos, it tends to be a line in the sand. In a bear market, it tends to be resistance. In a bull market, it tends to be support, as you can see all through here, right? Bear markets often break below it, retest it, and then collapse, just like 2018 did right here, just like 2019 did right here, okay? So looking for that retest, currently that's up around $47,501. So again, I've been saying 45 to 49K, and the longer this goes, the more that's going to curve down, okay? I do want to put this back on a Coinbase chart though, since we're now talking about more current price action. All right, so 47,536, right? I believe it'll be tested, maybe even throw a wick above it. That's what I see on the weekly chart. I also tend to look at RSI. I'm not going to go over that a lot in this video because you guys have seen it in past videos. If you're new to the channel, you can go watch past videos and kind of see how I do that. But I always look at what I call the bear market box and see what RSI is doing down in that box. Then I look at a 3-day chart, right? 3-day chart is by far my favorite chart for position trading cryptocurrency. I believe it. You know, it moves just fast enough that you can get a good entry, but slow enough that you're not getting a bunch of false signals, right? So if we look at a 3-day chart, okay, here's my structure, right? I have my lower low, my lower high, my lower low, right? Lower low is actually over here. This still looks like a lower high to me with a lower low, so this could be a lower high, but I'm still expecting this to go back up, okay? I don't care about the 19-week moving average. I don't care about any moving average on the 3-day chart. What I do care about is just looking at these tails, right? And if we have wicks or tails, I look at those. Okay, look, there's all this demand pushing this back up. I think she's got a bounce in her, okay? So again, same deal, right back up to test this area all through there, right? And my lines aren't that straight. Let me use a box. So somewhere up in here is begging to be tested, right? Somewhere in that ballpark. How high does it get? Well, that's anybody's guess, but I believe it will go back up and test that ballpark, okay? That's kind of what I'm saying there. And by the way, I will just say this from a prediction standpoint. This is really weaker than what I would like to see it. It does make me a bit nervous about that, you know, expectation, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and pay attention to the chart. We do have that downward sloping channel. We're pinging around inside that. We were able to break above the midpoint. Looks like we might have found support there. So if it can stay above that, at the very least, I expect it to go back to the channel. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Jump down to a daily chart. On the daily chart, there's two moving averages I care about. There's a 50-day moving average, right? Which I'm going to make orange, just like that. And there is a 200-day simple moving average. So I'll slap that on there, 200-day moving average. And there we go, right? There's that death cross again. I don't care that much about death crosses, as I mentioned in previous videos. These are lagging indicators. Oftentimes, they actually mark the end of a move, and then you get some type of counter move. And that was almost the case here, ironically. Okay, so if we break it back above the 50, that's great. Then I would look for it to act as support. But there's a key here, right? And I think this is something that people forget. If your 50 is sloping up, it's going to act as support more often than not. See, pinged off of it, etc., right? And then fell underneath it here, which was kind of a bummer. If it's sloping down, it's not really that strong of a support. It's really something more you're looking at as resistance. So if this breaks above it, you know, comes back down, I would actually expect it to probably fall through it, right? And then look for it as resistance. The 200-day moving average is starting to flatten out. So if that starts curving down, that's obviously bearish news. It's also a line in the sand. It's up around 44,000. So we'll see if we can break above that on the daily. All right. And then as far as the smaller time frames go, it's just more of the same things. It's just dialing in, okay, if my daily, weekly, 3-day, etc. makes me think it's going up, then on those smaller time frames, that's where I'm going to start looking more for long positions than I am short positions. Doesn't mean I won't take a short, but where this bias comes into play at is if I'm day trading and I see a long and I am bullish on the daily chart, for example, then I'm going to try to usually ride that long on that day trade as long as I can, you know, all day, even occasionally overnight or a few days, whatever. But if I'm long biased on a daily chart, for example, and I see a short set up on the 5 minute, then that tells me, hey, you can take the short, just make sure you scalp it. Don't try to ride it, right? That's the big thing with biases. Those smaller time frame trades, I was looking for a thing, right? You get into a short sometimes, it comes down and you're thinking you're doing good and you go to bed and then it does this, right? Whereas if your bias is through the short, then you might be able to, ride it, it does something like this and then continues down. So that's where that comes into play at. All right. But overall, I mean, Bitcoin just looks the same. It's really just ranging. It's still in that same parallel channel. So there's not a whole lot to say. It's not like I have a crystal ball and I can say, okay, well, based on the last 38 seconds of movement, I believe this will go to, XYZ price. No, it's a range. And we have to wait for the range to break. That's just the way trading works. I am biased to the long side. I still believe it will go up. Like I said, for some of the reasons I mentioned in this video, for example, I don't believe we're going to get a fourth red candle in a row. I think this will be a green candle. I do believe it'll go up to 45 to 48K, and then I believe we'll get something like this. Okay, and not necessarily in a straight line. Bear markets don't really move in straight lines. Okay, but we'll see. It could always turn around and start a new bull market, and anything is possible. So never rule out that possibility. All right. Yeah, that's what I do, guys. I go down, I sit down, I start with large time frames, I go down, and I know people would say, well, do you really look at the monthly every day? It doesn't change. I do. Just because it helps me to remember, right? It helps me to stay unemotional about the whole thing and remember, okay, this is what the monthly looks like. Yeah, this looks bearish. Oh my God, the 5 minute looks bearish. No. Monthly doesn't. All good. Got a couple of demand tails. I think it's cool, and it helps to stay kind of even keeled. If you got a 5 minute chart that's putting in a really sexy long setup, the market's going down, but you see a sexy long setup, knowing that the monthly supports that idea of a bounce makes it a lot easier to take those trades. All right. So with all that being said, please remember, I am literally some guy sitting in a spare bedroom. Nothing in the video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor, which I am not, for making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check the description for a link where you can join Patreon, as well as Pancake Profits. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.